What's up, guys? This is Hiking and Homesteading. So this is part two of our how to raise successful chickens. And so we basically said there's five parts going to be in this. One, purchasing chickens. We did the last one. Two, breeder box. Three is going to be the chicken tractor. Four, the coop and pasture. And five is going to be saying goodbyes. Unfortunately, you have to do that sometimes. Let's go back over the purchasing. We said there's really three options: store, hatchery, and seller, right? And so basically, just to review super quick, I said if you are kind of moderate on chickens, you're comfortable with raising baby chicks, but you're not like a chicken guru and you don't want like a ton of chickens, I would buy them in a store, especially if you're just looking for the several heritage breeds or egg laying breeds. They're carried mostly at stores. A lot of your local stores will have them. Hatchery is more if you're a chicken guru, if you're looking for bulk of chickens, if you're looking for specialty chickens. Um, Maybe if you're looking for certain roosters, whatever, you may order from a hatchery. And then the seller is more so if you're brand new to it and you just want two or three birds, go with a seller off Craigslist or whatever, because you can get them a little bit older. It's very technical when you're raising them as baby chicks. So you can get them at the age where they're less technical, they're feathered, they don't need a brooder light, they don't need all that special attention, they're kind of ready to go. And you can be very certain that they are hens. A lot of people that live in city limits, you can't have roosters. So you want to make sure you got solid hens. And if you buy them from a breeder that says they're pullets and they're 8 weeks old, or excuse me, yeah, 8 weeks old, you're going to know at that point if they're showing characteristics of a rooster. Okay, so let's dig in for today. Today, or the second part two, we're going to talk about the breeder box. So the breeder box, they will tend to stay in the breeder box from when you get them as a baby chick from either the post office or from a store. The store tends, when you get them from there, they're less than a week old. And you're going to keep them in the breeder box for at least 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. It just kind of depends, but usually at least 3 weeks. And especially if it's midsummer. Midsummer, you can probably get away with 3 weeks. And there's a few things you got to offer them in the breeder box. We're going to go over 6 things that's really important for the breeder box, okay? So number one is lighting, okay? The light's there for heat. They need a heat lamp. I want to emphasize on this, be careful. I don't like using the 250-watt heat lamps because I've had it before where it literally almost started fire. It started burning the wood chips, and I even had it a pretty good distance away from the wood chips. It wasn't like right on top of the wood chips for the bedding, and it almost started smoking. So the 250 watts, in my opinion, is just way too much. If you want to be really safe, you can get the brooder. They're like a plate kind of, and the chickens can get under them. But they're like a little heat plate kind of, so you can get those. I would recommend those if you've got the money to spend. If you're on a budget, then the heat lamps are super cheap, but I would go with the 125 watts or less, okay? Because again, the 250 watt just cooks them. And the way you can tell if you've got too much heat, okay, when they're first born, they need about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Every week thereafter, that drops 5 degrees as far as their heat requirements. Okay, if you put the lamp down and they're all scattered far corners of the box, then it's too hot. They're trying to get away from the heat. If you put the lamp on it and they're all huddled up under the box trying to stay warm, then it's too cold and you need to lower your heat down or put an extra heat lamp or what have you. So that's the best way to tell if your heat's right, is watch the birds. Are they huddled up under the heat trying to get warm, or are they running around? And you have to watch them when they don't know you're there, because they will, as soon as you're there, they're going to run away from you and crowd in the corner or something. So you got to kind of peek over real quick, see what they're doing naturally when they're not being timid, and see if they're huddling or if they're spreading. Tells you on the light. And brooder box, let's talk about that real quick. So brooder box, you can use, some people use totes. I've used a big like 3 foot by 4 foot plywood box. Be careful about using any treated lumber or anything with chemicals in it or anything with paint on it. Okay. Okay. Second thing is grit. Grit, real simple. A lot of people don't realize they need grit, but chickens have a little muscle that actually grinds up their food, and it needs little pebbles they can chew their food up, and it's called a caul. And so you want to offer them grit. You can buy it at any store, and that will allow them to have that. Bedding, don't use cedar, fresh pine bedding, and I use the fine blended. They like that. Water, just fresh cold water, put in there every day. It doesn't have to be cold, put in there every day, and I put apple cider vinegar in it. Food, that's kind of your preference. I like to do, you want to use at least 18-20% protein. So you need a grower. You can't use layer feed. Don't use layer feed. We'll talk about that later. And then the last thing we'll talk about in a minute is hardening off. So tune in to part 3. Thanks, guys.